Hello, everyone. You're listening to the Art of Reinvention podcast show. This show focuses on helping you become the best version of yourself by producing thought-provoking and life-changing content. Here's your host, Teflon John.
All right, so we'll get right into it. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Teflon John coming to you courtesy of the Art of Reinvention talk show. And I have a very special guest, two-time guest. This person has a lot. Am I the only
person that's been 2 times?
I think so. Yeah, okay. I think, yeah, I would say yeah. Yeah, so you are somebody that is much needed. I'm surprised that I was able to get you because your calendar stays booked. Someone who has 2 podcasts, not 1 but 2. Someone who has a business, got an award, with Lynchburg Alliance. So we're going to get into that. So if you could just tell people who've been living under a rock for the past couple of years in Lynchburg, who you are and what you do.
All right. My name is Charese Chambers. I'm a bookkeeper and tax preparer here locally. And actually, I service people not just in Lynchburg. My furthest client is in California. So I do bookkeeping wherever you are because the principle of bookkeeping doesn't change for nonprofits and for profit businesses. I have 2 podcasts. One's called Financial Fancy, where we go over different business strategies. And actually, it's a layered podcast, so you can't just start at like episode 6 and think you know what's happening. Just recently, we talked about more in depth what the difference is between an LLC and an S Corp. I think there is a lot to be debunked and conversations to be had about that. And then I have another podcast called Business After Dark, where we kind of talk about the stuff that people aren't talking about on social media, behind closed doors, like podcast on Monday we'll be dropping talking about customer service. And I'm not talking about the customer service you receive. I'm talking about customer service as you as an entrepreneur give to other people, and maybe why you are not seeing the amount of patronizing that you think you should be having in your business, because that is a huge problem. And especially as someone who supports local, my shirt is from a local boutique here called Live, Trendy, or Die. One reason that I don't shop some places is because their customer service is trash. So we talk about stuff like that. So
it's being real.
Yeah.
So I know on your Financial Fancy podcast, I remember you told me when you started it, you were doing like a series, and it was basic, like if you followed part 1 through, it was giving you these building blocks. You know what I'm saying? Like to me, it was giving you the foundation to understand money, finances, and just it was along the most basic level. Because I think one thing that I love about your brand, and I'll say it again, is that you don't really have to come in knowing a lot about finances. I think some financial therapists or some, tax bookies or whatever, they come in and you gotta have already this knowledge base in order to understand the terms. But I like how you break it down for the layman people. So what episode or what series would you say you've enjoyed and got the most feedback from people?
On the Financial Fancy side, I'd have to look over. I think really setup's probably the biggest part, like LLCs, even the importance of having one, because a lot of people are sole proprietors out here. They don't have any protections. I mean, at the basis level of having a business, you need to have a legal protection, because if someone decides to sue you in your business, that LLC will protect you, but there comes a little work. You have to be doing the due diligence because you have to have separate bank accounts for your business. You need to have funds separated. You need to be navigating your business because there's a term called piercing the veil. So if you're not separating your funds and things of that nature, someone sued you because you're doing eyelash extensions, they could take not only your business assets but also your personal. So imagine you done bought a home, your business is doing well, and you've never done this one step, and now it's subject to be taken all away because someone sued you legally, or you got a lawn care business and your business name's on the truck, and someone sues you because you get in an accident, and a lot of times I say to people too, we talk about contracts. That's probably the next one. A contract is to cover the what ifs. That's how I see them, right? Gotcha. So someone's like, oh, I had a consultation with a client not too long ago, and they tote just leftover things from one location for a business from one place to the next. And I said, well, what do you do if you get in an accident? She's like, oh, well, I think it feels like we're doing them a favor, but they pay us kind of situation. And I'm like, well, let's talk about if you do get an accident or if you lose the thing that you're transporting for someone else, who is responsible? You need to put that in your contract.
Yeah, and that's deep because you see that a lot. And you see where a lot of business partners, too, everything goes south because lack of a contract, people are assuming, and the relationship takes, a different path. So going back to what you said, like with the protection with an LLC, is that, so I have me, Jonathan Smith, and then I have my social. And then your business should have an EIN number.
Right, that's correct.
And with that, could you go with the steps of what you're able to do with that EIN number?
So if your business has an EIN number, and that's basically your business social security number, you can start building business credit. And as soon as you open up your business bank account, your business is basically registered, and it starts receiving credit, dockets. So you want to make sure that you're paying your bills on time. So if you are not good with your finances on a personal level, it most definitely translates on a business level. So you want to make sure that you have those foundational things in place and that you're being responsible and taking care of those things, because it would just not be good for you in long term in your business if you weren't even doing those steps to begin with.
Gotcha. So someone who is looking to start a business, right? Say like they have a side hustle, or it's something that it's in their mind, they have passion about it. Would you recommend someone, like you said, in their personal life, getting their credit straight, learning how to pay bills before they go that route?
Yeah, that would be a good idea. That would be a thought process for sure. Yeah.
Because I'm listening to what you're saying. I don't think a lot of people think about that. Like, hey, if I don't pay my bills on time, if I'm not good with money, but they have this gift and passion, and they go out here and start a business not knowing anything, then they can be back at square one, or not worse than where they started.
Right, this is true. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, most definitely want to be good stewards of the money that we receive. And even though they're thinking, oh, my business is going to make so much money, because that's the thought process, right? If I have the money, then I'm going to pay the bills, right? And that's not always the case. Sometimes, we get distracted. We want to buy other things, and we don't prioritize properly to make sure we have forward motion in our personal and in our business lives. Okay,
so as far as like a business and when you're making money. So some people think that, if I have a business and I'm making, say, I have 3 clients, you're making $4,000 a month. Some people think that that's theirs just to spend. So could you go over the importance of, how you pay yourself? You can do it basically, or however you want to, go into detail, versus the money being saved for the business and being available.
So one thing I always suggest to clients when they first come on is that they need to have an operating account and they need to have a reserve account. So your operating account is just what it means, that you're using those monies for day-to-day activities, paying for your website domain, paying employees, paying other fees, having Canva Pro, whatever you have, right? A reserve account is for my taxes. My reserve account is for my wish list items, like I want to get new microphones for the podcast and things of that nature. So I'm putting that money aside and not touching it. And then at the end of the third quarter, which is actually right around the corner, going to the fourth quarter, I start reassessing for my next year and what I need to buy, maybe what I want to invest, and then also start my tax planning for myself. Even though I do taxes, looking back to what worked, what didn't. I do that on a quarterly basis, but I do a whole synopsis of the whole year. Like, one reason why I don't run Facebook ads is because they don't work for me. I have never gotten any clients from Facebook, so reassessing. So the other thing too is a lot of times in business, we mimic what other people are doing. And that's fine, right? But the come away is, does it work for your business? I'm not on Facebook. Facebook does not work for me. I am on LinkedIn. I am on Pinterest. I am on, Alignable. I'm on things that work for me and give me a return on my investment. And it's not to say that you can't do what somebody's doing, but the come away is what is it that what works for you and what doesn't. You need to figure that out in your business.
Yeah, and that's also a powerful point, because you see a lot of times, especially like what we do, you're on social media, so they call us an influencer. So what you're influencing people to do is a whole different topic. But I think most people love the look and they love seeing something that looks like it works, and then they try to go after and do the same thing. But I think that's a very good point that you made, is like how Facebook doesn't work for you, and you realize that, and now you're putting your energy elsewhere.
Right.
Because I think sometimes you can have, a set of energy and a set of skill set that you could be burning in somewhere that's not really going anywhere.
Right.
So could you talk about that jump from Facebook? Because I know you're doing a lot of stuff on Instagram and LinkedIn. And just talk about the difference of LinkedIn, because I see where once I started putting different leadership, type of content on there, that it works pretty well for me and the organization that I work for.
Right. So I love LinkedIn because it's basically a professional site as Facebook is concerned, right? So it's the professional side of Facebook. And I believe that you have a higher caliber of people on LinkedIn, and they are looking for different things. So it also brings a conjure of tales of, people are trying to, get you on board with whatever they're selling. But it really just puts you on a platform on another level of people who are more like-minded, I believe, if you're a business person, because these people are also very business-minded, right? On Facebook, you don't know who you're going to run across. But on LinkedIn, I have most definitely made connections with people that I would not have access to just on Instagram. And I really like it on LinkedIn. And you can go live. It has very much the same features as Instagram and Facebook. And I find it to be a great place.
Yeah, and what I love about it is the whole networking deal. So it's not like you have this endless amount of friends that you would never talk to. You have people that actually send you an invite to connect.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think the whole verbiage kind of opens your mindset differently. And now you have a connection with, like you said, like-minded people who are in finances. Then, far as like if your business is serving other businesses like B2B, it's a very good place for you.
Right, yes.
I think business like B2C, business to consumer, Facebook and Instagram, but business to business, I think LinkedIn is very good for that.
I like it a lot. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because I actually started shaping my content a little differently when I started getting to the leadership role. So at my job, I work for CB Fleet, but under Prestige Brands, where they make Summer's Eve products and all that good stuff. So I actually received the 4th quarter leadership award just a few months ago. Thank you. And through that, it was a ton of people following me in that organization.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I had no idea. And so it made me think about, now I'm going to put out leadership content on there, and it's a business to business thing.
Right.
So I think it's good for people to know, if they have a business, who is your audience? Who is your customer base? Who is your fan base?
Right.
Because like you said, sometimes you can be on a platform and doing things that you think is working for other people, but it just doesn't work for what you have.
Right.
All right, so let's take a different turn. And you brought up, credit and business credit and everything. So how important is it for a business to develop credit? 'Cause that's something I never thought. I always thought about my personal credit. But I remember just hearing stories of people that had poor credit, they built their credit, and then they got, like, their business started booming because now they were able to get, a huge loan for a building or whatnot.
Right. So having business credit is definitely important. In our last podcast on Business After Dark, I talked about working in your business and on your business. And I think when people first start a business, they're not even thinking about that. They're just so excited about starting the business, getting it started, selling those cakes, providing the service, whatever that looks like. But honey, I've been doing taxes since 2006. So I most definitely am in a space where I'm like, how can I be more effective? How can I get the message more out? And Financial Fancy is moving to more digital products because, again, my service base is not just here in Lynchburg. And I know that people just in Virginia aren't just looking to start a business, and business principles do not change. Yeah. So I am moving to a space where I can service more people with digital products. And what that looks like is something that's being worked out right now. But, what I want to do is, when you start a business, you'll come into a time, if you are in it for a long time, where you need to be working on your business, not in the business. You do not want to always have to rely on you doing the thing to make money, because at some point you will burn yourself out doing that. That's something I most definitely had suffered from. Like, I'm exhausted after tax season. I'm like, there's got to be a better way. And I've found better ways doing better intake of clients, getting all their information at once, all these other things. So having business credit, though, you'll need to will help you propel to, do you want to franchise, or there's another word I was thinking, or have a buyout of your business, right? And you need all of those things in place, or those PPP loans. I have had multiple conversations when the time came, when COVID came, where people are like, they didn't have EINs, they only have the foundations, right? We had to keep going back to those foundations.
And operating a business?
And operating a business, and I'm like, they can't even apply for a loan because they don't even have the necessary things. They've never. I'm like, when have you looking at your profit and loss sheet? They're like, oh, what? And like, yeah. So that's why it's so important to start with those foundational things and then build up to those things. And the other thing, a word I use very often too is, are you the CEO or are you the owner? And a lot of people say they want to be the CEO. And I was like, no, that's not what you want to be. The CEO is the head person who helps daily progress in a business, right? The owner, they don't have to be anywhere. Just like you think of a football team, the owners, they don't have to be there. They make money. They make their profits no matter what. The CEO has to be working in the business day to day and making sure the CFO is doing their business, make sure that the middle management is doing their, like they are the trickle down of the business, right? So, once you can get into an owner space of your business, it's a different headspace, and it most definitely will it makes sure that you're in a better space. But back to your question too is like having business credit, it's going to put you in a cycle of sequences that will make sure that you can thrive in your business and that you're not just surviving.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, getting back into that CEO versus the owner, because everybody, and I know especially in the African American community, for most people, the CEO is like the dude.
Right.
But no one thinks about, like you said, the owner is the guy that kind of facilitates. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't even have to get involved in the day-to-day because he appointed someone. Could you just take a deeper dive into that business infrastructure going from the owner down?
All right, so the person who is running the show, the people who are making let's since we in current topics, Nick Cannon. Is people
let's go there.
Let's make it relatable, right? Because y'all know who Nick Cannon is. Nick Cannon host Wildin' Out, okay? And a company, Viacom, they are the owners. They own the stuff, right? And they decided that whatever he said was inappropriate and they fired him, okay? So now he is losing money. Now will Wildin' Out ever be the same because they'll get a new host and all the other things? Will the people who work for Nick, who he put on, so it's like, dang, so all right, Viacom is the owner. Nick is the CEO because he's hiring Chico Bean and everybody down the line, right? So now he has, I don't want to say sacrificed, but he has messed up the order of operation, right? And it's put everybody else's job in jeopardy. I don't know what their contracts are. I don't even know if they're in limbo, because that's the other thing too. There's a lot of things that happen in the behind the scenes. People don't know in the industry is that every couple of years, these people's contracts come up to be renewed, right? And some people are like, oh, so I like Amanda Seales, let's be honest. So, and she decided that she wasn't going to be on The Real anymore. But if you know her background, I kind of was like, dang, I wasn't expecting her to take that job, but she did. She was actually in negotiations, and she decided that she didn't want to renew. So it wasn't like she got fired or she was like, I'm done with this. It's like contract came up to be renewed, and she decided to pivot, right? So it's not unknowingly. It's like the mom in Fresh Prince. They pivot, right? So people are like, oh, they got fired, this and that. I'm like, that's not how it works in the background. But, so think about it this way. If you own your stuff, so I'm in a position where I want to own my stuff. That's why I'm like, all right. And another reason too why I don't rely heavily on social media, because you don't own it. Yeah. If Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn died tomorrow and they made another TikTok too, or like, let's think about all the progressions of all the social medias, right? Don't nobody even know what MySpace is. I don't even think my sister's like, I'm like, I've never had a MySpace page, right? So you think about how we've progressed. So that's why it's important important to have a website. That's yours. You own that. Yes, I pay, some fees for the domain name, but at the end of the day, though, people can find me and I can collect my coins on my stuff that I own, and I don't have to rely on social media. Social media is a marketing space, and that is nothing more, nothing less, right? It's not where I divulge all my life. It's not where I save all my pictures. And if it was to die, that I'd be like, oh my gosh, I don't have anything to show for it, right? So really start thinking like your why and why you do the thing that you do. And once you can get clear about that, and that's why also when people come to my platform, they know what they're signing up for, right? I have a clear, precise who I am, how I show up all the time. And when you're frailing, right, you're just throwing at anything, you always hit your target. You know why? Because you don't know what you're throwing it at. But once you can be precise about what that bullseye looks like who I want to help, people who have financial troubles, that's what I'm shooting at, right? Instead of just throwing out things vicariously into the atmosphere. So make sure that you are positioning yourself to gain momentum so you be that owner, not the CEO.
Gotcha. And I think that's another great point, because you see now where you're talking about social media, you're talking about businesses where someone could be the CEO and have, I guess, fallen in love with that moment and build all this stuff, build the infrastructure, and then all of a sudden they're out and they're back at square one. Because you're thinking about social media being a huge media library. Every video that I put up, also I have saved. It goes on my website, every podcast.
That's good.
And so what happens is, social media should be only a platform to share. But if, like you said, you're relying on that, and all of a sudden a new, giant comes in and wipes this other one out, all of your content is gone. Right. And I think even they have the permission to use it or do whatever to it, use it for their social media library. And I actually had, what was crazy was my website, through whatever, Facebook does this thing every year where they kind of comb their all their content for the community. What is it? The community library policy or something like that. So my website was flagged. Nothing but positivity. The same the same information that's on Facebook is on my website. So that's one thing that really woke me up to it. Is I really started pushing more towards rebranding my website, because they blocked me from posting anything on there. So every link I share, And what happens is they do it out of error sometimes because it's an algorithm. Right. And by the time you get in touch with them, so if you're relying on that for business, you're better off really sharing your website, like you said. So I had to really go through like the domain change and all that stuff. It's working now, but it really changes my whole mindset of what I'm actually relying on. Right. So talking about social media, we was having a conversation, and just seeing like what you do is financial. You have your base, you have your niche that you're going after. I have mine, with trying to help people change the world, through perspective. Right. But there is this dark side of self-help, this dark side of the influencer game. And my last guess was that by now this episode would already air, but we kind of touched on it a little bit. I don't like certain sides of not us, but the industry that we're in, because we're influencers. You have people that are inboxing people or taking advantage of people's lack of knowledge or taking advantage of people's current state of mind. And you hear the same words: destiny, motivation, dream, grind, hustle. So what is your take on what's going on now?
Okay. I ain't one to mince words. Okay, keep so let's just go. We go again. Yeah. Okay. So, well, let's take a spiritual route for a second here. So I feel like people are drawn to the thing that they need, right? I think that if you need motivation, you can easily be drawn to someone who motivates you, right? I think also, and let's be totally transparent. So I had an awakening. It was maybe about 2 years ago. Things are really starting to take shape. I was pivoting in business and in life and things like that. And I was just consuming all the things, right? And I had to stop myself for a moment because, one, I had lost the identity of my own voice and hearing other people. So I now do not consume as much as I used to. I'm kind of going through a midlife crisis in my head a little bit too, because I love Eric Thomas, but now I see him pivoting a little bit because of things he has said in the past. And now that we have had some things happen socially, culturally, he's like, you know, because some people have you think like there's an equal playing field and this, that, and that, and I'm like, yes and no, yes and no, right? Because I think we have been able to pivot in our lives in a way that has suited us best. But how much further would we be if it truly was? That's my other thought process. All right, so. I think that you need to take everything with a grain of salt still, even if you are still looking for motivation. I also say consume in its entirety. I don't just listen to WSCT. I also listen to WSLS. I also listen to Fox News. I also listen to CNN. Like, I want to get a full scope of information so that I can make an educational decision about what I'm thinking. Because if you continue to listen to yes men, then you will think that is the thing, right? You want to have an indefinite decision and thought process of why you think the things you think. So let's go to the business side. When people use trigger words to draw you in, and mostly we see it in the multi-level marketing space. I'm not saying that you should not be in a multi-level market. I sell Mary Kay, okay? But what I don't do is tell people I want to give them facials. I don't use the same business model for them that works for me, because that doesn't work for me, right? I want someone organically want to get their makeup done, and they want to, spend time with me. And fortunately, I have an 80% closing rate. If someone gets their makeup done, they're going to buy something that I use on them. So I think that's practical. Now, do I get as many customers as maybe some other Mary Kay consultants? No, and that's fine with me, I also am very upfront with my upline. When I signed up, I told her, look, don't even expect me to sign nobody, because that's not even what my intentions are, right? My intentions are is that I use Mary Kay, I get 50% off. That's what we here for that discount, right? So I think that if you are in a multi-level marketing, I think that if you do not have the time to invest and mentor a downline, then don't do that. And don't make them feel bad if their sales are not, because that's the hope. I mean, that's like, I could work a 9 to 5, right? J. Crew had quotas, right? That's what we're trying to get away from. I understand there are, but there's most definitely a level of integrity that needs to be happening. I've listened to a multitude of, the call-in calls and things of that nature, and they are, I have yet to hear one where I'm like feeling all inspirational afterwards. I'm just like, this was a lot. and where do I run? And I feel like that's the space. And even though we are in COVID and people are trying to pivot and they think that this is the time for them to invest in themselves and their business, think what your long game is. Again, if you are the owner, if you're in a multi-level, you are always the CEO. You will never be the owner, because you don't own the product. And if they decide tomorrow that they want to stop selling Mary Kay, Herbalife, LuLaRoe, honey, they're all the multi-levels, right? Yeah. There's a whole bunch of them, right? But there's a way to win in those spaces, but you need to have a thought process and an execution plan to do as such. Yeah,
it's it's crazy because sometimes I think it's taken advantage of. Like, I remember, just being pressured to get a downline, but I knew I didn't have the time, like you said, to nurture them, pour into them, answer questions. And I felt like, it's obvious, we're all people, that the only time you want to deal with me or talk or send these Facebook messages or group chat is when it's about the product, right? When it's about the business, when I'm not, if I'm not sharing anything about the product or business, then we don't talk. So the dynamic of our relationship is based upon my performance, you know what I mean? And I just think when it comes to that it makes people feel a certain type of way, because they're coming into this and you're selling this prosperous lifestyle, but it's a lot of hard work. Oh, for sure. To build that. It's not just something you can come in, right? Because you're getting a percentage, right? And the big people, they're eating on a lot of it. And so some stuff may come off as overpriced, especially in the supplement realm. Oh yeah, for sure. When you look at the average price of soy protein based price, the cheapest protein ever, but you're selling it like sometimes 3 times the markup, so you can divide your dividends or your credits or however you pay out. So I think what that is, man, is just all on your motive and your heart. Like, if you don't really feel like taking advantage of people, you may not thrive. But there's still a lane where you can use that tool to really help people.
Right, for
that
sure.
really need help.
Because let's think about it this way. Walmart is selling all these things, right? And I think that one way that I am able to pivot in my multi-level marketing that I do for Mary Kay is that, I fulfill a need. Women want to feel beautiful. I love makeup. I can speak to it. So it seemed like a natural partnership between the two. If you like health stuff and you want to sell, I think the new thing is like NutriBurst or something like that, the little purple packets, then that's great. So, but lead with that too, right? Don't, make people like, why are you eating a burger? Because this is the other part. When I was 250 pounds, no one was like, oh, why are you eating those yams? I'm from Mississippi, okay? I'm a Southern girl. Why are you eating, all the things, right? And then when I started losing weight, people are like, oh, are you okay? Like, look, you can't have it both ways now. Look, y'all both get on my nerves. Yeah. So, I think that, again, you need to know your end goal as an entrepreneur, right? And own that truth and then move forward in that. I think that, you can be successful in whatever it is that you want to be, but that having that mindset and being your own person, though, that takes even more strength than even selling the item, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the overall win. I think once you master that, you know what I'm saying, you can really take control of your business and take control of your life and really know what direction you're going,
right? Without
having a lot of regrets, having a lot of sleepless nights,
right?
Because being in the self-help realm. And being in the MLMs and you're talking about, building down lines, that's a lot of pressure.
Right.
All right.